awesome 90s superhero movies that deserve more love. The current era has an extraordinary love for superhero movies, with Marvel and DC Universe delivering some of the finest superhero flicks in recent times. The fan base has significantly increased. Currently, they have a massive budget, exquisite special effects, and the audience that devours such content. But back in the 90s, superhero films weren't having such a rosy time. Critics such concepts. Barring a few rare instances, the superhero movies back then never got their due recognition. We admit that they weren't up to the quality of such movies today, but even then, some of the films were actually too good to be trashed. In this video, we bring you an assortment of some of these forgotten superhero classics. If you don't compare with the movies of today and judge them individually, we promise that you would love each and every one of these. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Hey, tough guy, you want to try that on somebody your own size?
Dick Tracy, 1990. Dick Tracy is not your regular superhero. He is a well-respected police officer who is after the crime boss named Big Boy Caprice. He faces the most dangerous criminals of the city who treat him as their sole enemy. But that is not the only trouble in his life, because his personal life is also faced with struggles. His girlfriend wants a quiet life with him, but with all the mess in the town, he must take care of everything. As if these weren't enough, Dick must also dodge the seductive club dancer Breathless Mahoney to stay clear of trouble. This is the movie adaptation of the popular comic book created by Chester Gould. Considering that the movie released in 1990, the color scheme was fascinating, and it was a fascinating film to watch. It is no surprise that the movie got the Oscar awards for the best art direction and set decoration. It had 2 more Oscar wins to show for, one for the best makeup and the other for the best music. Tracks like Back in Business and Sooner or Later are truly Oscar-worthy. The powerful cast involved the likes of Dustin Hoffman, Warren Beatty, Glenn Headley, and amusing cameos by Al Pacino and Madonna. They had a blast while shooting for the film, and it reflected in their performances. It successfully conveys the whole comic book idea, presented with a beautiful plot that leaves you beaming from ear to ear. You wouldn't want to miss this one at any cost. The Rocketeer, 1991. The Rocketeer recreates the magic of 1930s Hollywood, where you have everything from Nazi spies to gangsters. The story takes off when a young pilot named Cliff Secord comes across a top-secret prototype jetpack that allows him to fly around. When his girlfriend is kidnapped by German spies, he must rescue her using his powers. However, he has other troubles to take care of. The FBI is also after him because he possesses the top-secret equipment. Can Cliff Secord save the day? Based on a comic series by Dave Stevens, this movie was a gift from Disney that allows you to relive the spirit of 1930s aviation pulps. It offers a complete package of entertainment where you have action, drama, humor, and some tense moments that will make you chew your fingernails. As a period film, the makers paid attention to detail and allowed goof-ups to slip past them. The cars, costumes, decorations, and every little thing resembled the times that the movie is premised in. Billy Campbell, Alan Arkin, and the beautiful Jennifer Connelly deliver with some stellar performances. Unfortunately, despite being a wonderful movie, the trailer wasn't marketed right and seemed more like an Indiana Jones flick. In fact, the movie failing at the box office made Disney cancel their plans for a sequel. Don't miss the film unless you want to skip one of Disney's finest works.
Full auto, rapid fire. Rapid fire.
Judge Dredd, 1995. The story is set in a futuristic world where the Earth is almost uninhabitable, and only a few megacities shelter the entire population. The harsh crimes in these cities call for harsher measures, and a group of lethally efficient judges operates as the supreme authority. As crime takes over, these judges become the combined force of judge, jury, and executioner. Judge Dredd is one of the toughest judges, but unfortunately, he is framed for murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. He must clear out his name and bring the wrongdoer to justice. Before you point it out, we will admit that this version isn't as good as the recent Judge Dredd reboot version, but do remember that this movie was made almost 20 years before the reboot version and is a fascinating narrative set in the cyberpunk world of Judge Dredd. You have some cool action sequences and the powerful Lawmaster bikes blazing around. These bikes were built from scratch for the movie and were so powerful that only the trained stuntmen can ride them. There has been news of some creative differences between superstar Sylvester Stallone and the director. For instance, although the comics never had Judge Dredd take off his helmet to show his face, the character does so in the movie at the insistence of Stallone and the producers. Keeping these aside, the film is going to be a treat for those who like intense fighting, explosions, and robots included in a gripping story. Spawn, 1997. Spawn tells the story of Al Simmons, who works for the government as a hitman. He is double-crossed and murdered by his superior, Jason Wynn, but he strikes a deal with the devil to come back to Earth. In return for the favor, he would help the devil. As he returns to Earth, he finds his life in shambles. His wife married his best friend, and Jason Wynn was preparing a deadly virus to destroy the world. Simmons must stop the plans of Wynn and the Devil's minions and protect the Earth. Comic book adaptations were difficult back in the 90s, and Spawn is an effort done right. Tons of action, dark comedy, and an interesting story hold it together. As for the actors, we cannot praise Michael Jai White enough for a spectacular portrayal of the role of the protagonist. John Leguizamo plays the role of Satan's minion effortlessly, and Martin Sheen is the perfect bad guy Wynn. The CGI effects for this movie could have been better, but there are moments worth remembering. For instance, the majestic flowing cape of Spawn looks amazing, and some fight scenes are fun to watch. It would have been better if the makers didn't squeeze so many characters and too much plot in this 90-minute movie. This is no classic and certainly comes with its fair share of flaws. However, if you are willing to look through the errors, you will find an entertaining popcorn flick. We hope that Hollywood brings back this character because the current generation of filmmakers can do justice to the dark superhero. Blade, 1998. You probably go gaga over the current Marvel movies, but you would be surprised to know that even before the MCU existed, the first prominent Marvel blockbuster was Blade. The story takes you to a society where vampires and humans coexist. Someone must stand strong to prevent the vampires from taking control of the human race. Blade takes up the responsibility with his part mortal and part vampire demeanor. He is a vampire hunter who protects human beings by slaying the evil vampires. This is an enjoyable vampire horror movie that is complete with good direction and the perfect cast. Nobody could have played Blade better than Wesley Snipes, who portrays his anti-hero characteristics and mannerisms effortlessly. His breathtaking stunts and movements with the guns and swords would make Bruce Lee proud. Chris Christopherson and Steven Dorff also play their parts flawlessly. Blade has some remarkable martial arts fight sequences, and the final fight scene is the one to watch out for. With a gothic theme, this film takes you for a unique visual experience that fans of action and horror would certainly appreciate. The tragic and melancholy musical score by Mark Isham syncs well with the plot. Do not expect the quality of special effects that you see today, but then, this was an era when action movies weren't reliant on CGI. It is too good a vampire flick and too much entertainment to miss out on.
Is that guy?
GUYVER Dark Hero, 1994. The GUYVER left a deep impact with the heroics of Sean Barker, who successfully defeated the Cronus Corporation and its evil forces. This is the sequel for that movie, and it shows the protagonist continuing to struggle with his ability to use the armored suit GUYVER. He starts wondering why he received these powers, and it takes him to an archaeological site where an old alien spaceship has been discovered. This will be the answer to all his questions, but more trouble awaits him. The Cronus Corporation is still after him, and he must tackle the menace yet again. For starters, the sequel is better than the original movie simply because of a more compact storyline. The action scenes are also more refined than before, adding the element of suspense in those moments. Steve Wang remains faithful to the original comic and the results of some cool monsters and well-choreographed fight sequences. Try getting your hands on the uncut version of the movie. The brutal adaptation of the cult manga hit is perfect by the acting performances of David Hayter, Bruno Patrick, and Kathy Christopherson. David Hayter was also the voice actor for Solid Snake in the Metal Gear video game series. Coming back to the movie, the last fight scene is simply out of the world, and our only complaint is that it was so short. Even with a low budget, the movie manages to pull off a classic that you must admire if you are looking for the ideal 90s superhero movie. The Heroic Trio, 1993. An evil master plans to raise babies as invincible warriors, and for this purpose, he makes the Invisible Woman kidnap babies for him. Her sister is a secret crime fighter and convinces the Invisible Woman to fight against the evil master. They are joined by their childhood friend, the Thief Catcher, and complete the Heroic Trio. Now they are faced with the might of the evil master whom they must stop before he succeeds in his plan. The Heroic Trio impresses with the high production value and the usage of Hong Kong-style action choreography. It promises to be an entertaining superhero flick where you have 3 female superheroes played by veteran actresses of Hong Kong cinema, Michelle Yeoh, Anita Mui, and Maggie Cheung. They will make your heart skip a beat with their super sexy outfits and stunts. The action scenes are mostly cheesy, but that is how it was intended to be. You have scenes where a heroine leaps across telephone wires to catch a falling child, or they spin wildly through the air on a motorbike. It is not meant to be taken seriously, but at times, the plot does get sentimental. There are some disturbingly violent scenes such as decapitations, a baby dying after falling on a nail, and many others that are not for the faint-hearted. Unless Hong Kong cinema repels you, this movie will prove to be a wonderful experience. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.